Oil has been known and used since the most ancient times and has been mentioned by most ancient historians since the time of Herodotus. Tsarist Russia produced 3,500 tons of oil in 1825 and doubled its output by mid-century, which accounted for half of the world's production and dominated international markets by the end of the 20th century. The first modern oil refineries were built in Poland in 1854, but were very limited and demand was very small. However, it was first obtained in America from springs in what is now western Pennsylvania by the Seneca Indians, who used it for medicinal purposes well before Europeans came to the New World. The first oil well was drilled in the same region in 1859. This first well was 69 feet deep and produced a mere 15 barrels a day. The area quickly boomed and the modern oil industry was born. Oil in this early usage time period was originally used as kerosene for lighting, which replaced animal, vegetable, and coal oils. Throughout the post-Civil War period known as the Gilded Age, numerous oil companies were created throughout the entire United States, supplying consumers with this kerosene for everyday usage and heating. One of the most famous early American oil companies was Standard Oil, created in 1870 by John D. Rockefeller, based in Cleveland, Ohio. Rockefeller not only expanded and controlled most of the oil industry, but large shipping, train companies, as well as financing companies. By the end of the 1870s, Standard was refining over 90% of the oil in the United States, and Rockefeller was a multimillionaire, which in today's inflation would put him double the richest man in the world. This early oil industry played an integral role throughout the late Industrial Revolution and transition into the modern age. Although this early age of oil usage was primarily focused on heating with kerosene, the true golden age of oil usage did not occur until the creation of the piston engine. In 1890 in Germany, Wilhelm Maybach built the first four-cylinder, four-stroke engine run on oil. This early piston engine was designed for land, air, and water usage. From this engine and later more advanced and efficient engines would come the true calling of oil usage. In 1908 in Dearborn, Michigan, a middle-aged man named Henry Ford created the first automobile, the Model T. By 1918, half of all cars in America were Ford Model Ts. By the 1920s, a majority of American drivers had learned to drive on the Model T. During this time period from 1908 to 1918, the price of crude oil more than doubled, going from roughly $10 to nearly $26. By 1920, oil fields had been established in many countries, including Canada, Poland, Sweden, Ukraine, United States, and Venezuela, to supply the expanding automobile market. As time passed, oil expanded from the automobile, being used as fuel for airplane fuel, a kerosene-based fuel known today as jet fuel A and jet fuel B, plastics, which is created from petroleum, clothing products, which are made from nylon and polyester, both oil products, laundry detergent, wire insulation, styrofoam, paint, and surprisingly, toothpaste, which is made from glycerin, another oil product. So in a typical day in the American teenager life, you wake up wearing oil-based pajamas and change into nylon or polyester clothes, maybe cotton, brush your teeth using a plastic toothbrush made from petroleum, using the nylon toothbrush bristles, and put in glycerin toothpaste. Drive to school using your car, run on oil, and use your plastic-based computer throughout the day. The petroleum industry today includes the global process of exploration, extraction, refining, transporting, using oil tankers and pipelines, and marketing. For drilling history, the Texas Company developed the first mobile steel barges for drilling in the brackish coastal areas of the Persian Gulf in the early 1930s. In 1937, the Pure Oil Company, now the Chevron Corporation, and its partner, Superior Oil Company, now part of ExxonMobil Corporation, used a fixed platform to develop a field in 14 feet of water 1 mile offshore of Louisiana. By 1947, Superior Oil erected a drilling platform 18 miles off of Louisiana, and offshore drilling was used as equally as land drilling. Today, the United States federal government provides a large subsidy to oil companies, with major tax breaks virtually every level of oil exploration and extraction. Capital expenses, including the cost of oil field leases and drilling equipment, are taxed at an effective rate of 9%, which is much lower than the 25% rate for general business taxes and lower than the taxes of virtually any other industry, according to a 2005 study by a nonpartisan CBO report. For example, when the Deepwater Horizon oil rig was registered in the Marshall Islands, since registering offshore lowered the U.S. tax liability, the U.S. government was giving the rig's owner, BP, a major tax break when BP leased the rig. 70% of the rent was written off in a form of a tax break used only by the oil industry, for a tax deduction of more than $225,000 per day from the day the lease began. This is caused by the sheer strength of the oil industry and its lobbyists. The energy lobby is the umbrella term used to name the paid representatives of large oil, gas, coal, and electric utilities corporations who attempt to influence government policy. The so-called big oil companies such as ExxonMobil, Royal Dutch Shell, BP, Total SA, Koch Industries, Chevron Corporation, and ConocoPhillips are among the largest corporations associated with the energy lobby. In the 2006 election cycle, oil and gas companies contributed over $19 million to political campaigns. 82% of that money went to Republican candidates, while the remaining 18% went to Democrats. From 2003 to 2006, Energy Lobby also contributed $58.3 million to state-level campaigns. By comparison, alternative energy interests contributed about $500,000 in the same period. To make matters worse, in June 2005, documents emerged that revealed that the Bush administration had consulted Exxon regarding its stance on the Kyoto Protocol. To quote a British newspaper, The Guardian, "The administration is found thanking Exxon executives for the company's active involvement in helping to determine climate change policy, and also seeking its advice on what climate change policies the company might find acceptable." Throughout our modern history, the oil industry and its lobby conglomerate have played a vital role in American politics. However, in President Obama's State of the Union address this year, President Obama stated, "I'm asking Congress to eliminate the billions of taxpayer dollars we currently give to oil companies. I don't know if you noticed, but they're doing just fine on their own. So instead of subsidizing yesterday's energy, let's invest in tomorrow's." So from this quote and the recent green movement, oil companies will play a less vital role in American politics and receive less government funding. Oil plays an integral role in current events. In Iran post-World War II, the CIA and the British MI6 ousted a democratic government for a pure dictatorship run by the Shah of Iran. This was done so that British and American companies would get better access to the massive oil fields located in Iran. However, in 1979, an extremist group ousted the Shah and placed a theocracy in place. This coup d'etat was not based in religion or in the pursuit of power, but rather to gain control of the Iranian oil fields. The Iran-Iraq War, lasting from 1980 to 1988, was one of the most prevalent tactics used by both sides was to simply use artillery strikes aimed at not military bases, armies, cities, or other crucial points, but rather at the oil fields themselves, so as to let them burn, destroying the oil reserves in the process. In the early 1990s, Iraq invaded the country of Kuwait, which is smaller than the size of New Jersey. Although Iraq has plenty of ports and did not need more access to the Persian Gulf or any more oil, Saddam Hussein wanted to control not only his 14th largest oil reserve, but also Kuwait's 11th largest oil reserve. Just recently, Libya has entered a civil war. Libya has the 9th largest oil reserve in the world. If you have been following the updates with the rebel advance towards the nation's capital Tripoli, the rebel army is advancing not through a direct route through the desert, but rather taking a longer route, capturing key oil towns and ports. Finally, China has very close diplomatic ties with Venezuela, Nigeria, and Iran. Although China is a pure communist country, it has extremely close ties with a socialist nation in Venezuela, a dictatorship warlord state in Nigeria, and an Islamic theocracy in Iran, which directly conflicts with China's political ideology. The reason that this happens is that all three countries supply China's growing demand for oil. With China's support, these three countries can basically get away with anything they want, including building nuclear facilities and calling American presidents extremely vulgar names, due to China's permanent veto in the UN Security Council and oil. Finally, as President Obama said, our nation is dependent on oil. Why is this the case, though? Simple. Oil is an everyday product used in many products as mentioned earlier. It is relatively cheap and integral to the American economy. Without oil, we would not be able to run cars, airplanes, use or create plastics, or have a military. Oil products, mainly plastics, are found in computer chips, so the entire computer industry would not be able to function. The oil corporations are worth billions of dollars and are some of the most active traded stocks. In oil lobbies in Washington and throughout the country, they supply candidates with millions of dollars and are vital to the American political system. Finally, some 1 billion people living throughout North Africa and the Middle East are dependent on the oil industry and on the oil trade. Thank you.